All right, it's time for a Final Four in Omaha, the NCAA Volleyball Championships. And my buddy Steve Aird up in Maryland knows exactly what it takes to win one of these because he was an assistant at Penn State for three of them. He's played half the field, of course, being in the Big Ten, facing Nebraska and what's that other team? Oh, yeah, Minnesota. And two great matchups coming up, Steve. You got to be excited to see it.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's great for the Big Ten. I think it's great for college volleyball. There's a lot of side stories going on with Nebraska getting back to Omaha and Kansas being in their first Final Four and Minnesota playing at an unbelievable level and Texas having the experience of having been there before. So it's, the storylines are great. It's going to be a pretty incredible tournament.
You and I talked last week or before the tournament started. I'm not going to tell anybody what either one of us said, but we were way off. And
Yeah.
ultimately, though, you had the 2, 3, 4, and then Kansas. I guess the most shocking result so far until Saturday was Kansas beating Stanford on their home court, sweeping them. I think that got everybody's attention. But still, did you think Kansas was going to beat USC?
We had played USC early in the year, so I got to see them up close and personal. They were as good as I thought any team in the country was, and I think it just speaks to how good Kansas is. You go into Stanford, you win. I know Stanford was beat up a little bit this year, but they still had incredible talent. And to be able to do what they did against USC and battle back in the fifth game and overcome being up 2-0 and then losing the next two, the team has a lot of mettle. This time of the year for me, though, I think the experience of being there is a big, big deal. And having kids who have played in that tournament and made it that far before. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle the pressure of having to play in Omaha.
Well, the first semifinal is Texas and Minnesota, which plays right to your point. Texas having their kids on that team have won a national championship. They go to the semifinals at least almost every year. And Minnesota didn't even make the tournament last year, and then has had a fantastic season.
Yeah, which shows you. I mean, what I think it does is when a team makes a decision that they want to be good, and players actually, listen to the staff and say, "Hey, listen, this is what we want to do." I mean, there's no one better in the country than Hugh, and his staff has done a great job of preparing the team. And what they got this year that they may not have had last year is great setting, and Dolly's having a Player of the Year caliber year, so they're used to playing big time matches in big time environments, and it'll be interesting to see how that works out for them.
Yeah, Dolly hit a couple of balls this past weekend that you should have gotten 2.5 points for. I mean, she can just lay some lumber, and they're getting just great all-around play. I mean, from seeing them in the Big Ten, just how to win that league for what you go through is just that speaks volumes. Texas, while maybe not as big and athletic as in the past, really, really interesting team because so quick and so smart.
Right, and they play faster. I think their ball control is a little bit better than it's been in a while, and they still got some very heavy arms. And as we were talking about earlier, I had the pleasure of coaching Paulina, and she had the kill to clinch the match for them. She's got a really heavy arm. Minnesota plays awfully fast. Texas plays a little bit higher. Minnesota does an incredible job of managing the game. They hit 400 in the last match they played. They've got a really good way of managing errors and making you beat them. So it'll be interesting, and neither of them are playing Nebraska, so it'll be not as neutral as it gets, but it'll be a match where I don't think the environment, other than being in the Final Four, is going to be quite the same as it will for the other match.
Yeah, I think I have this right. Your last match with Penn State was when you beat Wisconsin for the championship, and they had Demi Morales, who was like a 5'9" outside hitter, and Amy Neal at 5'10" at Texas is just unbelievable, the stuff that she does, considering, her size in this game.
Yeah, you look at it from an opposing coach's standpoint, you say, listen, we want to try to flood stuff away from her and try to isolate her and hit balls over top of her. And defensively, you think it's a pretty good matchup because you can put someone against her who you would think can stuff a lot of balls and kind of control players that size. But when you're good, you're good. And there's been countless examples of that in the NCAA in the past, 10, 15 years of undersized players who have a great hand of ball and great ball control and, play a lot bigger than they are. So that she's an example of that. She's been important in Texas for a few years now, but never as much as she is right now.
Yeah, that's a good line. When you're good, you're good. So in the nightcap, the Nebraska Invitational continues. Lincoln to Omaha, I guess, is 50-something miles. Kansas. The odds are seemingly stacked against Kansas. And here's another one for you. Are you old enough to remember the old Big 8 conference?
Yes, and no. I've
Well,
read about it. I wasn't in it. Yeah.
back in the day, there was a Big 8 conference. It had like Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and two schools, Kansas and Nebraska. And so here you go, these two playing each other. And of course, Nebraska moved into the Big 10 however many years ago. Nebraska, geez, the Ralston twins are playing fantastic. Justine Wong-Orantes is playing libero as good as anybody in the country. They're getting just great all-around play. They got a lot of weapons. And plus, it's just going to be a sea of red in there because all the Nebraska people gobbled up all those tickets as soon as they became available.
Right. I think with in 2008, so it was a year after I'd left Penn State for the first time, but I was back there sitting with the Penn State people when they played Nebraska in that 5-game thriller before they beat Stanford in the final. That was as loud and as crazy a match as I've ever been part of. To be lucky enough to be in the building when it was going down. I think the experience they have, Nebraska this year was really, really good at home. When they struggled at times, they had one bad weekend, but when they struggled, it was usually on the road. They didn't play as clean. But I think the environment, the energy, the volume, the obvious emotion of it being back and playing in a building, I mean, that's been their stated goal all year. So when they get back in that environment, Kansas is going to be in trouble if a few points start to run and the building gets loud. They've been impressive all year. They've gone into other places and won, but this is going to be as unique as anything they've ever played in.
Well, I would say this is our version of March Madness, and Kansas is our Cinderella for this year. Kelsey Payne's a beast, just doing a great job. Havili's doing a great job setting. And you got to love Ray Bouchard's story. I mean, he had opportunities to leave the junior college he was at. He didn't want to go to another job except Kansas. And now for him to finally get here, he's one of the nicest guys in all of volleyball. So it sets up to be a really, really fun weekend.
No question. I'm going to be in town. I think a lot of the people in the country, it's in the profession when you want to be relevant, you want to be playing in the matches. And certain years, you can have a great team, you can have a team that's developing, but at the end of the year, this is the best volleyball the country has to offer, and the environment in Omaha is going to be incredible. You just want people to stay healthy, play at a high level, and enjoy the weekend. Well, I always enjoy talking to you. You're a great analyst, and you're doing a great job at Maryland. And I appreciate the time you've taken all season to come on with us and give your analysis, and I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you in person. Thanks, Lee. Good talking to you, bud.